John Carpenter has always said that if people wanted to continue to make Halloween films, that he would gladly accept the checks, but that his advice would be to not try to recreate the magic of his 1978 original. Put your stamp on things and do it in your own vision. Do something unique and fresh and new. And with Halloween Ends, David Gordon Green has given us a Halloween film unlike any sequel before it. This thing was daring, it was inspired, and it will prove divisive. I know in the immediacy, the instant reaction is going to be a fan base that is 50-50. Some will love it, some will hate it. But I have to tell you, if Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, Halloween 6, Curse of Michael Myers, and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 could eventually develop dedicated, passionate fan bases, it will only be a matter of time before David Gordon Green's Halloween Ends has a loaded bandwagon. I'm just happy to have a seat on that thing on day one. For this non-spoiler review, I will not be getting into the nitty-gritty. I will be saving the details and such about this plot and how it impacted me, how certain scenes worked or did not work for me for my spoiler review. So if you are interested in what I have to say here in this video, be sure to subscribe, ring that little bell, and bring yourself on back for the spoiler review, the Halloween ranking, and a bunch of other Halloween content that will be coming out now that we have Halloween Ends. But here we go. Guys, right off the bat, all of my anxieties were kind of smoothed out. This movie, at times, I was filled up with dread because there's been so many rumors and there are so many ways that this thing could have gone off the tracks and gone to a place of no return. But I gotta say right away, this kind of proved that this was gonna be different than David Gordon Green's other films. That opening, this first act, quite the hook. I mean, this was like a Scream level opening, a great introduction to where it was dark, it was heavy, and it subverted your expectations. In a lot of ways, it felt like a callback to Halloween 1978, which was originally called The Babysitter Murders, and you kind of get a little bit of that with a twist, kind of turn that on its head in a way we've never seen before, just like so much of this movie will go on to do. But man, does it get you enveloped and interested right off the bat, and you're like, wow, they went there, and they had certain shots, and they had certain cues that had me kind of going a certain way, because I'm realizing that these films, this Halloween franchise has conditioned me to expect certain things, and I'm not going to get that in this movie, and I love that. They are not playing it safe. Like I said, this is a daring, inspired, creative, and original effort, and you get that in the first act. And right after that first act, we kind of move into a nice little slice of life. You get to see what's going on in Haddonfield since the events of Halloween 2018. And you see the town trying to pick up and carry on, and all that talk that we had about, oh, everyone's just picking up and moving off their life and acting like things never happened. No, this is the town marred by tragedy. And the effects of that night are still being felt on a very deep core level by everybody. There's still a lot of talk about Michael Myers. There's a lot of talk about that night. Allison and Laurie can't go anywhere without catching dirty looks and hearing murmurs about them from people who are just looking on. You have this character who's involved in the opening act, a certain character that is going to factor in heavily and will ultimately probably be the reason that so many people are divided on this movie. But I have to say, Rowan Campbell plays this character named Corey, who comes into the fold, kind of ingratiates himself to Allison and Laurie. And I was just a fan of this guy. I thought he did a really great job. I thought he had a very interesting performance. Andi Matichak, this is the best that we've ever gotten from her. I've talked at length about wanting more from Allison. I have since 2018. I thought she was poised for big things when I first saw that movie. And at long last, we cash in on that potential. They really explore a lot here with her. Karen is not just forgotten. So much like we were just going to pick on and move up, and she was going to be in denial about things and mad at Laurie for just trying to really embrace what happened and talk about it and be in the moment about things. But that's not actually necessarily how things play out, that those who do have conflict, and there is drama in this movie, and this is that coming of age story that we were talked about. This is heady stuff at times. There's a lot of character development, and that is at the cost of less Michael Myers. And that is where a lot of people are going to be upset, because this movie does not have nearly the amount of screen time that Michael Myers usually gets. And when he does, they do interesting things that we have never seen before, and they may rub you the wrong way. And I have to say, not knowing where we were going, not knowing where our destination would ultimately be, I felt like we were hitting speed bumps at times, but it piqued my interest. And I felt like my eyes were as big as my head, because I was like, whoa, 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 what are we going to do? I mean, I was filled with dread and apprehension. I can't remember last time I watched a Halloween movie and was filled with just so much dread. I had hair standing up on the back of my neck at points because I was like, what is going to happen? This is going to be great or this is going to be terrible. I'm either going to love this movie or I'm going to hate this movie. But I love that. I love that this movie made me feel something because I felt so numb and dull during Halloween Kills because it felt like a hollow vessel that was just there to kind of jack off to Michael Myers. But this story, this is Haddonfield's story. This isn't necessarily about the boogeyman. He is important to it, but this is more about Laurie. This is about Allison, and Michael Myers will factor into things in the end. And the way they tie him in, you've never seen anything like it. Promise you that. May rub you the wrong way because you're not going to be used to seeing that type of thing. But I think if you think about this as being Halloween Ends, you think about this narrative and what they ultimately do with the fate of Laurie, with the fate of Michael, who ends up dying? Do they both end up dying? I got to tell you, it was effective, and I was holding my breath. Their final conflict, you need to check this movie out. If you've heard rumors like, I don't want to see this, fuck that movie. No, you owe it to yourself to check it out. You hear people talk about H2O and that final battle between Laurie and Michael. Nah, this takes the cake. This is so much more. This is so much more visceral. This is high octane, full throttle, just brutal. And it felt like this true culmination of 40 years of frustration, anger, and bitterness. You see that in Allison, you see that in Corey, you see that in Laurie, you see that in the Haddonfielders. It really reminded me of times as a kid who was kind of, had like a pencil frame and glasses and just had kids in the neighborhood who thought they could take advantage and kind of corner me and have their way. And eventually you had to stand up for yourself, and you get that thing where you're just biting down on your lip so hard. It feels like you're going to pierce your lip with your teeth, and you're just vibrating with anger because you've had enough. You've withstood enough, and now you're going to unleash all the rage and hell that you can muster. This movie does that, and that is a fun new way to explore trauma. All the memes about Jamie Lee Curtis, trauma, 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 trauma. And a lot of times we've done that in an artistic fashion that seemed like a way to kind of get social currency, if you will. This is not that. This is a true exploration of trauma to me, and the way it can kind of rear an ugly head and that you may need a sort of physical catharsis. This movie gave me catharsis. It made me a little bit emotional at one point. In that final moment, I've always talked about that Laurie Strode. I appreciate her. I love the character. She is the proto final girl, but she is not my final girl. If I did a ranking of the top 10 final girls, that she wouldn't maybe top the crack 3. Got to reevaluate that after Halloween Ends, because I didn't think that if I was faced with the possibility of Laurie dying, that I would get misty-eyed or I would get choked up or that I would care. But you know what? This movie said, Nate, this may happen. I'm not saying it does, but if this may happen, she may die. And I was like, oh, fuck, don't do this. Fuck, don't do this. You got me. You got me, David Gordon Green. You got me. I talked so much shit about your writing in Halloween Kills, but I'll be fucking damned. You have made a movie that did use the inspiration of Carpenter in his Halloween 1978 film and also Christine, and you were able to do something kind of fresh and new by kind of using an intersectional idea of Christine and Halloween. And it's not for everybody. I really don't think so, because I think with a slasher film, an iconic slasher like Michael Myers, you kind of expect a certain thing. You probably like your comfort zone. This ain't your comfort zone. This ain't what you're used to. You're not playing in the same old playground. This is going to kind of throw some things in your face. It's going to confront you, and not everybody's going to land on that side. It may not work for you, but goddamn did it work for me. So, great kills, some little bit of stalking here and there, new fun, fresh stuff I've never seen, some interesting predicaments with the Michael Myers character that I've never seen that kind of made my gut start tumbling and made me kind of claw into my seat and made my eyes this big. But gotta say, from the moment this movie started, it has a pretty considerable runtime, and it didn't matter. It never lost me. My interest never dwindled. It never faded. I felt like my eyes were always this big. At times I was holding my breath. I could not believe how just entertained and interested this film got me. I talked about before, Halloween 2018 was one of my best theater experiences of all time as a Halloween fanboy. Then I was let down by Halloween Kills, and now I feel like we have redemption. And this timeline by David Gordon Green, it's going to be up there when I rank them now because of the way we got finality. Not going to say who the ultimate victor was or if there was a victor, but I did not expect things to end the way they did. The way that he puts a bow on things is fantastic, and I should have known it from the start, because this opens with title cards to where the font is in a color we're not used to, and the pumpkin thing is doing all sorts of stuff, and it's splitting open on itself, and it gets gory and visceral at a time, and it's kind of setting the table for you that, hey, I know you're expecting a certain thing. The title card's not going to happen. This ain't your daddy's Halloween film. And you know what? That is okay. This is fun. This is fresh. This is different. I would love to know what John Carpenter thought of this movie. I know it can be a little curmudgeonly, and I know he's hated a lot of the sequels, but I'd be really interested to know what he thought of a movie that took such a big swing. So, did that big swing land in a home run for you, or was it a swing and a miss? Let me know down in the comments section. I will be coming back to do a spoiler review where I'll be hopefully a little bit more honed in, less verbal diarrhea, less scatterbrained. But right now I'm just feeling kind of passionate. I'm feeling hyped. I can't believe what I got. And if you want me to give it a rating, right now I'm gonna go ahead and give it like a 4.3 out of 5. That's right. I know it's gonna be divisive, and a lot of you are gonna have angry comments for me, and all I have to say to that is, to each their own, and you can kiss my ass. I'm Nate for Nate Flicks, and that's a wrap.